For this demonstration, I'm looking at doing working drawings on a mail template. So what you need for this is obviously a template. I have done some additional work to this. I've made the lines darker by going over them with a heavier pen. I've used this regular, it's a Uniball fine pen, but it's a little bit blacker, so I've managed to make the lines a little bit blacker. I have included a vertical line, so when I'm working with the working drawings, I can see that the right is going to be the same as the left. I've added in a few additional lines here for a typical back neck and a front neck for a t-shirt, and a typical back waist and a front waist for a pair of trousers. I've also strengthened the lines here for short sleeve t-shirts, mid-length, full length, because they need to go at an angle, so these lines should help you to make sure that they're even on both sides. Likewise here on the legs, there's just guidelines here to show you that both sides are the same. Normally when working with working drawings, I work with, first of all, a few sheets of paper underneath. It helps you picking up the texture of your table. It's a little bit more forgiving, and it also helps the black lines to show up a little bit better. If your table is dark in colour, they don't show up so well. So normally I work like this, but that's going to be a little bit difficult on the video here for you to see. So I've chosen to work with a thinner sheet of paper, which is very similar to a layout pad. So in this case, I am going to do a working drawing for a pair of trousers. So I'm going to zoom in here, so you can see that in a little bit more detail. And I'm planning to do the front and the back on the same page. So I'm going to move this to the right so I can fit maybe the front on one side and the back on the other side. So I'm going to start off with the back waistline, and I'm working in ordinary HB pencil, harder than a HB, and you start to make indentations in the page, softer than a HB, and it tends to just not erase properly because we're going to erase the pencil after we've inked it up. So I've got the back waistline and curving down for the front waistline here. Then I'm going to use the guideline at the side here for drawing the depth of the waistline, and because I've curved down for the front, I keep going with these curved lines. So I'm going to draw that waist following that line. So next step would be, we generally have a seam down the centre front, well, 99% of the time at least. There's always an additional piece of fabric that goes in between the legs in both menswear and women's wear. It's very difficult to draw that, so we tend to draw a squiggle. And then I'm going to draw a very basic pair of trousers. So I'm going to go straight down on the outside here, and then I'm going to try and match the line on the other side. So from here, straight down. So I'm trying to watch how far from the leg I have drawn the line out. So the same on this side. So I'm watching this side while I'm glancing back at this side. So to draw the inside leg, I need to go either side of this centre line here. So working from here, straight down, and from here straight down. So because I've curved down here at the front, I need to keep that curve going on the hemline. Okay, so this one is slightly further out or slightly further in. You will get away with very, very small discrepancies, so that's okay. I'm going to put a regular pair of pockets into this pair of trousers. So there is a dotted line in under here. You can barely see it through the paper, but I'm going to aim to end just above that dotted line. So I'm putting in a pocket here. So it's literally just at that dotted line. So I'm going to put a dot here to show where I'm aiming towards. Go in roughly the same distance, well, as accurately as you can, and curve out. So I am going to decide, it's menswear, so it is left over right. So these trousers will close in this direction. So I'm going to give it a regular opening, which would require a button here. And because it is a regular fly zip, I will need to do a top stitch through the trouser there, showing where the fly fastening would be. Okay, so this is the front of the trouser. In order to do the back of the trouser, following this principle, if we turn the trousers over, I can literally do that now with this sheet of paper. The trouser is the exact same shape, nothing changes, the outline is identical. So what I normally do for that back view is I simply fold the sheet of paper in half, and I can trace all of the information through. It's a little bit easier though if I ink up that front side first. So I'm going to ink it up, and then I'm going to trace off the back. So for inking, I have 3 pens. I have a 0.5, a 0.3 and a 0.1. and this one doesn't have it written on it. So I'm going to choose what is the best weight of line to ink up the drawing with. So typically the 0.1 is best for stitch lines or dart lines. We don't have any darts here, so I think the only place I'll be using that 0.1 is here. 0.5 is good for anywhere that you've got a shadow. So a shadow would be typically where this pocket isn't sewn down to this piece of fabric behind. So that's going to create a shadow. So this would be a good use of the 0.5. Likewise here. And then for the opening here on the front of the fly fastening, a 0.5 would be perfect from here to here. And apart from that, I think the entire trouser is going to read best with a 0.3. So I'm going to go for the 0.5 last. That can be a bit scary to work with. I will do the 0.1 second last. So I'll start with the 0.3. So for the 0.3, I'm going to ink up this back waist. I'm going to ink up the front waist, but I'm going to do a minor detail here because when the waistband closes over the other waistband, it's going to look more like this. So if there's a slight step, it'll be easier to read. So I'm just going to amend that as I draw it. So this will come to here. And then on this side, it will just go 1 millimeter slightly lower. Our waistband is here to here. For the side, literally, I just go for it with these straight lines. And it's pencil, so it doesn't really matter if I can follow it exactly or not. Okay, getting those straight is literally practice. And then with this one here. Okay, and then I've just realized I would always use a 0.1 for where two pieces of fabric sew to each other. So I'm going to choose to do this seam line here as a 0.1. So this one then is going to be 0.3 and 0.3. So from here down, it's going to be a 0.3, and that's my squiggle. So now I'm going to do the 0.1. So I'm going to do a 0.1 across here. And I also have my 0.1 here. And then for the other final features, I'm going to have the 0.5 for that pocket creating the shadow. 0.5 for this pocket here, also creating a shadow, and a 0.5 here for where that opening opens. So we don't need to go to town on it. These are really subtle differences. And I'm going to go back then to the 0.3 for the button. Okay, so what I need to do then is to literally wait 30 seconds, make sure it's dry. Sometimes I'm too eager to erase all of the pencil lines and I end up smudging the ink. So I think that should be, let's start with the ones I did first. So with a working drawing, if it is a hand-drawn working drawing, you have to erase those pencil lines, otherwise it's not finished. Okay, so there's a finished basic pair of menswear trousers. So for the back view, I'm simply going to fold this sheet of paper in half. And then I can trace through, because we know that the information is identical to the front in terms of the outline, but the internal information here is going to be different. So again, I'm going to go in with pencil. So we know that centre back waistband is here. Waistband will go from here to here. That side of the trouser leg will come down from here to here. This one also. Slightly wiggly there, I'll try and fix that when inking. This leg is the same. This one, round it off. We still need that squiggle here at the back, and the waistband here, we know it goes from here to here. I'll draw a little line so you can see where I'm aiming for. I won't ink that up. So now I need to follow the same thickness of waistband across the back, and then I need a seat line centre back. So the difference with the back is that seat is a little bit deeper. Typically in trousers it has to come around the back, so it needs to be a slightly longer piece of fabric. I'm going to put in a little pocket here, so I'll just put in a standard welt pocket. Okay, and I'll put another one in here as well. Okay, so to ink these up, this is going to be a 0.1 because it's a seam line. This is going to be a 0.1 because it's a seam line. This here will be a 0.1 because it's a seam line. Also a 0.1 here, here, here. The top, because it's an open, should be a shadow. That'll be a 0.5, and everything else pretty much a 0.3. So I'll start off with the 0.3. So I've got my 0.3 for the centre back here, here, so then I've got the 0.1. So 0.1 for seams where fabric is sewn together. They're not very obvious. This again is a seam. This is a seam. This is a seam. And this is a seam here. And then finally 0.5 for the shadows. So the only place here on the back is here for the top of that pocket. If it's not thick enough, I can go over it a second time. And for here. So if I give that about 30 seconds now to dry, just before I rub the pencil out. Now, most of the time then with the working drawings, they've ended up on opposite sides of the page here. So I'll just cut this out. They normally work best if you can cut close to those lines, but not to the lines. The lines don't make any sense if you cut right through them, because then we can't see that lovely difference between the 0.1, the 0.3 and the 0.5. So if you cut maybe 3-4 millimeters away. Okay, so now that I have them cut out, they can actually look really quite nice overlapping sometimes. It just gives it a little bit more I don't know, panache when you're sticking them down. They look quite professional when they're front over back. And if you're needing to photocopy them multiple times, you could just stick them onto whatever pages you need them on with blue tack, or you could of course lay them out and photocopy them multiple times or whatever you need to do. Pritt stick's okay so long as the paper isn't too thin. If this was your layout pad, it's not going to be so great. Okay, I hope that helps. Thanks.